there, it's Liz Yule from Old Stables Crafts again, and welcome back. I'm just going to see if I can put some more light on the scene actually, because it's a bit grey here in Oxfordshire today, so hopefully that's a bit better. Although I've got my windows open and my curtains pulled back, it's a little grey and nothing really. Anyway, today I am going to show you how I made this card. Some of you may be aware that I took part in an event with Stampin Up UK head office at the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on the weekend we just had, where we had a pop-up shop in Wycombe. And there were a number of demonstrators there. There were only a couple of us that were there all 3 days. And this was one of the cards that I demonstrated when I was there. And for those of you that know my channel and know what I've done before, you will know that this is one of my favourite stamp sets. And it is the High Tide stamp set, which I have got here. And I'm delighted to say that it was in the spring summer catalogue, and it's going to be in the new annual catalogue, which goes live now. So when this is posted, I may post this on the 31st of May, maybe the 1st of June. I think probably I'll try and get it up on the 31st of May. So this will be live when it goes up, but also in the new catalogue when it all goes live. I thought for those of you who were not able to join me at the event in Wycombe, I would show you how I made this card. You may have seen me make it, or part of it, on the Stampin' Up UK Facebook live feed, because I was on that as well. So, here we go. We are starting with a standard A6 card base out of thick whisper white. So that's A4 cut in half, scored in the middle. Then I've got a piece of Marina Mist, which is cut at my usual first layer, which is 5 1/8 by 7 3/8 inches, which is 14 1/4 by 7 3/4 centimetres. And then this is my normal second layer, which is cut at 5 1/2 by 3 3/4, which is 14 by 9 1/2 centimetres. I've also got a scrap for this little bit here, and we will come back to that in a moment. So, first things first, we need the base, and I start by building from almost literally the bottom up. So I'm going to start with some Sahara sand, which I know I got out. Oh, there it is, hiding right in front of me, as is often the way. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp, and as you know, it's light taps, and then right at the bottom of the card, not so far down that you can't see the shape, but right at the bottom of the piece of card, just stamp that, and then up, and that will then dry. It will soften a bit as it dries, because it is the lightest of the browns in our neutrals, so that will soften down a bit. And then I will bring in the first of the 2 bits of the lighthouse, which is, I use the least, oh, cat hair, what a surprise. I use the least solid of the images first. That's better, just giving it a bit of a clean. Don't need the Sahara sand anymore. So I'm going to use the one that's the least solid first, because I find it easier to use the darker colour and go lighter with all 2-step stamping. So I quite often buck the trend on the order. So this is Marina Mist. I'm inking it up at full strength, and then this base fits into the sand, and you can see it's obviously going to be easier for you at home because you won't have a camera in the way. But we'll just put that down and hold it, and there we go. So clean that off, because I will need the block again, and pull in the more solid image, which is the lighter of the two bits of the lighthouse. If you see what I mean. Well, you will see what I mean when I do it. So it's this more solid image, and I'm going to ink that up again and then stamp it off before I stamp it, because I want it in a lighter shade of the same colour. So just hover it over the image I've already stamped and then hold it in place once I'm happy that it's in the right place, and there we go. So that is the lighthouse done. I will need a post-it note just to do some masking off. I'm going to leave that to set just for a little while, and while that is setting I shall bring in the sentiment that I've used. This is only because I'm going to do some inking and I need to stick the post-it note over the lighthouse to do that, and that will be better if it's completely dry. So I'm bringing my scrap and some early espresso and just ink that up, and then I'm going to pop it to the right hand side of my scrap because I actually want a straight edge. There we go. Clean that up, pop it back. I will need this again, but not for a while. So I'm then going to take an ink dauber, and I have my ink daubers labelled, and I'm just going to take a little bit more Marina Mist. Oh, and it would help, of course, if I'd punch this out first. So, using the 1 3/4 inch circle punch, and then from the back, I'm just lining it up so it's as far this way as it will go, but still punch. Ooh. Close that down, and that's just so that I've got it. I can then line it up against the edge of my card. And I'm just going to ink round the edge in Marina Mist because that will help make it pop out from the back of the card. So I wonder if any of you saw the live streaming of our event in High Wycombe. I have to say we had an amazing time. Met lots of wonderful people who came in and gave stamping a go, many of them for the first time ever, which was wonderful. And I think they all thoroughly enjoyed themselves. They certainly said they did. Right, so soft sky and a piece of sponge. And I'm just going to, cover up the post-it note that I've very carefully put to one side. I'm going to cover up this side of the lighthouse because what I want to do is just lay down very gently some ink. And I'm starting at the bottom and working up because I am actually going to stamp over the bottom for the sea. But I want it fading up just a bit. Probably need to open up my sponge a bit. If you have the sponge too close together, you get quite a large amount of ink coming off it, but if you have it open, you get a thinner, lighter layer. So for the top, that's what we really want. I'll actually move this round just so that we can cover that side, and then I can do a bit more of the darker inking there and then bring it up just a bit more, and it's just to get a sort of hint of something that isn't white. I'll leave that out for a moment, and if we take that off you can see that the white of the lighthouse, because I covered it up, is now popping off the page. So I don't need the sponge anymore. I will bring in this slightly odd looking stamp, which I have used in the past as a shadow down here, but this time I'm actually going to use it for the purpose for which it was designed, which is to be the lighthouse light. And I'm just using it as a bit of a hint of the fact that it's a lighthouse. So that is that, and then I'm going to bring in the sea. And again, I'm using the same block, which is an H block. The H block is very useful for this particular stamp set. So I'm now bringing in Pool Party, and again, I'm going to need my little post-it note. Now, I think there is a right way up and a wrong way up of this stamp, and I like the solid line at the top, and then there's a sort of more dotted line at the bottom. But I don't think it really matters. So this is Pool Party at full strength, and I'm just going to stamp it once, and then move it and bring it down a bit and stamp it again. And that's just to get a second impression. And then we'll do the same over here. So ink it up, and then stamp it once, stamp it again, and it just gives a little more depth to the sea than if you do it all in the same strength ink. An interesting pool of ink coming off here. So I think we'll just soak that up a bit. I have had these in some rather odd positions over the last few days, because I have been travelling with them. So I think some of the ink has leaked just a little bit, so let's just tidy that up. I had re-inked it before the event, just to make sure that I had sufficient ink. Right, so then I need the flying birds. There are flying birds or paddling birds, but I want flying birds. And the early espresso again. So I'll just ink that up. And this just goes, I like to have at least one bird that's sort of flying off the edge. It just makes it feel a bit more mint as far as I'm concerned. And again, those of you that know me will know that I like the early espresso as almost like my black. It's a softer finish than the black, either of the blacks, but it's still, you perceive it as black. Right, so we're nearly done. So the only other thing I need to do is bring in a small block. This is our little baby A block, and the baby A block needs a high-pitched voice. It does, because it's very, very small. So ink that up in Old Olive. And then I'm just going to, again, stamp it once, stamp it again to get a bit of depth. And again over here, stamp it once, stamp it again. And I might actually do some coming off the edge of the page as well, just so there's a bit more. Then that is that. And then all we've got to do is put it together. So we've got our sentiment. So if I take some dimensionals, and I probably just need 3, so I'll pop 1, 2, 3, and take the backings off those, and then, one's attached to me, pop that just on the edge of the card so it's lined up. And then I want some rhinestones, because who doesn't want a bit of bling? Now, I like triangles of embellishment, so I'm going to have a triangle round. I'm going to cover the, oops, apparently not cover the full stop, cover the full stop. And that's what I mean by a triangle. So it helps focus your eyes on the sentiment. That's not to say you want to draw away from everything else, but it just helps focus your eyes on the sentiment. So then take my favourite, possibly bunged up, so let's give it a, this is a very well used pot of the multi-purpose glue, which may or may not, oops, wrong piece of card, may or may not have sufficient glue in it. Oh yes, it's fairly low, but we don't need much. As you know, I think this is a less is more adhesive, so let's just pop that down, and because it's a wet glue, it does give you just that little wiggle room to get everything lined up. And then I'm going to do the same again. And then get our card base. And pop that on our card. There we go. So there's the one we've just made, and there's the original, and another of my favourite high tide projects. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. Lots of exciting stuff coming up, obviously, because we're going to have the new catalogue any minute now. If you want full details of when you can order, etc., etc., hop over to my Facebook page. If you search Old Stables, oh, I can't say it, Old Stables Crafts in Facebook, you will find my business page, and there's a video on there with an update on ordering in these last few days coming up to the new catalogue, and also when the new catalogue launches. So have a look at that. I'll try and put a link below as well. The products will be listed in the associated blog post, which is linked below. What else? Oh yes, if you are ordering online, please use the current hostess code. There's one that's about to run out, but it's on my Facebook page, and I will have it in the link below. But if you're seeing this after the 31st of May, which is when I'm hoping to get this posted, then please look at my website for the current hostess code, and I always share the hostess rewards amongst those who order, so have a look at that. I like to share the love. What else can I tell you? I think that's probably it for the moment. Oh, dimensions will be on the blog post, which is, as I say, linked below. If you want to subscribe to my mailing list, please go over to my website. There's a subscription form at the bottom, very bottom of the of my blog posts for subscribing to my newsletter, and that has all sorts of exciting events and things in it. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye.